Happy What We Watch Wednesday. It's your girl, Miss Peacherino, back with another What We Watch Wednesday. We've taken a couple weeks off, but TV's back. We talk film as well, but we're back. We are so back. And today we're talking about White Lotus. We haven't talked about White Lotus in some years, and I'm really excited because we got a full on, mystery situation. And it's been super fun to be a part of this. And I'm going to kick it off with just your initial thoughts about the show. You know what I mean? Let's talk about your initial thoughts about the show specifically and season 3, even more specifically, right? We're talking season 3 today, but there's a lot of controversy, a lot of information around this show. I just kind of want to hear what you have to say as a whole. So come on up, don't be shy. First order of business is really, I feel like a lot of you had a lot to say about the finale. I mean, there were lots of opinions about the finale. And so I don't want to hesitate in talking about what that looks like. JK! So, first tell me, when did you join the White Lotus?
Oh, I've been with the White Lotus since the first season. So I have
Perfect.
all the seasons under my belt.
Okay, perfect. So talk to me about season 3. You can rank it if you want. I'm not against it.
Honestly, I would say you know what? Season 1 was crazy. Season 1 was epic. Season 2 was great too, but season 3 is not touching season 1. I have
Okay.
to say that.
Okay. Is it your lowest ranking season?
I would out of the 3, I would say so. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I would say so.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people are at with it. And I'm really interested in why that is, right? It feels like a lot of it has to do with the finale, right? Welcome Tej to the stage. We're talking ranking the seasons that we enjoyed. And JK has season 3, ranked at the bottom. JK, what did you like more about the other seasons?
I think what I like more about the other seasons is that the characters and the storylines were more compelling. Like
Mm,
I'm just thinking about in season 1, it was so crazy with the hotel worker that ended up getting caught stealing from the hotel room because he was trying to use it to I don't want to spoil it if Tej has already seen it or not, but I'm sure he has. But
of course.
he he was trying to use that money to pay for lawyers to get the land back from the hotel. Like that was way more compelling. And that's just one of the storylines of that season,
Mm-hmm. True.
right? Way more
Very true.
compelling than what was going on in season 3.
For sure. For sure. Tej, we're talking how you kind of, ranked the show, especially this last season and how it compares to the other two seasons.
I would rank this as my least favorite season, even though I did enjoy the season.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Why?
I think some of it has to do with the Mike White of it all. And I think that having 2 seasons now where we kind of know his playbook, we are, or at least I am, more critical of the way that he sets up how we get to the finale and how we get to, the end result of some of the scenes. And I just think that the longer episodes, like this season, is longer than the other 2 seasons, and I don't think that served the show. I think it having it tighter probably served the show better than having the extra episode and the finale be 30 minutes longer than it usually is. I think that extra hour and a half didn't actually serve the show. Like we didn't actually have to have Jason Isaac have like 9 episodes where he's just walking around in a daze and a drunken stupor. Like we got the point of that, and there wasn't really no development of that for like 4 episodes. Like we didn't actually have to do that. But I don't want to start with my nitpicks because I enjoyed the season. Like I had a good time. I always have a good time with the White Lotus, and I thought it was a great accomplishment. But I would say this is easily my least favorite season. I would have it 2, 1, then 3.
Oh, you like two better than one. JK, you hear that?
Yeah, the Sydney
Question.
Sweeney stuff is just so good to me.
I did, but I'm sorry. Number one. I gotta
So
go with
what
number one.
what do we like about White Lotus as a TV show? JK, what do we like as White Lotus? Because you're saying like I think it's a great, I think it's a great show. What do we like about it? Is it the mystery of it all? Is it the Mike White of it all? That's kind of, I mean, Mike White it again this last season, but something was missing. Is it just one of those we're used to it now? The formula is too obvious. What do you like about this show? Like, what makes this show unique?
What I like about the show is um, my favorite thing about the show is that it's become a bit of a star making vehicle. It used to be in the old days that stars didn't weren't made on TV. Stars were made in movies, and then sometimes they would come to TV. But this show is really like a star making vehicle. And Mike, the way that it's cast, it's like Mike White knows actors and actresses that you enjoy. You've seen them in other stuff, but they're not really heralded or celebrated. It's like they are the second, third, fourth person on the call sheet, and you always enjoy them when you see them pop up. But now I'm going to put them kind of in the center of a show or in an offense where everybody is sharing the ball equally as opposed to the star. There's no star of this actual show. It's just different people getting pretty equal screen time. So I like that part of it, and to see people that we enjoy, like Walton Goggins is somebody that everybody loves and everybody has enjoyed, but
Hmm.
now we're seeing him in this kind of role, and it's like it's always fun to see Walton Goggins show up, but now you get to see him kind of spotlight him, and I that's what I enjoyed the most about the show is that aspect. But I also just like I think Mike White is very ambitious in his writing, and I just like the interplay between. There's something so cool about like who you are on vacation as opposed to who you are in real life, and no matter what's happening during your short vacation, like you can't escape who you are and who you really are, even if you're
Hmm.
trying to be someone different. And I like that aspect of here are these people that are escaping from whatever their real lives are, and what is their life like for this week where they're meeting all these new people and having these new experiences. I think that's cool, and I think that works
Right,
works
right,
for a really dope show.
right. JK, what about you? What really hits home for this show for you?
Rich people drama, and the same thing that Teach was saying about how it's like a star making vehicle, and that it challenges the actors in the roles that they take on for the show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think it's like the two questions: why I came and why I stayed. I know why I came to White Lotus. It's on HBO, right? So I know HBO is going to give me what I want most of the time. I mean, 99% of the time. Um, you know, it's our Sunday drama, right? Or is it Thursday? It's Sunday, right? I watch so much TV. Is it Sunday or Thursday?
Sunday.
It's Sunday,
Sunday.
right? It's our Sunday drama. Perfect. So that's why I came. It's Mike White. It's gorgeous, right? Just it's an aesthetically extremely pleasing show. So all of the B rolls of this show are still like kind of part of the story, right? And I love that. I love a beautiful show. To your point, JK, about rich people, and to your point about just like letting these actors cook, there's a beauty in that. It's aesthetically pleasing, it's attractive, it's almost like comforting, like you're there with them, right? Which a lot of the most successful shows kind of pull you in. I want to be at a beautiful resort, you know, but then it kind of turns that on its head, kind of TJ, what you were talking about, which is like, what is the ugliness behind vacation, right? Vacation you, right? What's the ugliness behind what you're leaving behind in this world, right? Which season three like focused quite a bit on. Like, what have you left behind to be here at this beautiful resort in Taiwan? No, in Thailand, right? Like, what are you doing here? And so I think why I stayed is because I love to see an unraveling, right? And every unraveling is paired so well. I don't know. I don't care how controversial this is from from the mess that we hear, but the sound design and the effects and the music are so profound and so effective in this show. It is so much fun, from the title sequence, from the theme to like every moment where there is an eeriness or there's a discomfort or there's a, inevitable unraveling, I'm like, yes, this is why I stay. I want to see your downfall. I'm sick in the head. I want to see the downfall. And, Teach, to your point, Mike White, I think just his kind of style is very much like, take this journey with me down to the ninth circle of hell type shit. Like, take this journey with me down to how these people let any and everything affect them on what might is supposed to be vacation, right? Like, I just got back from vacation, which is why we couldn't do what we watched thing. I was very intentional. I had a time of my life. But what was like the underpinning like ugliness of it, right? Like, what are the relationships between like wealth and people that are there because they're working there, a la Belinda, right? Like, it's just this dynamic that's so cool. How do you treat people that literally live at the resort where you vacation? Like, this is a departure from your life. These workers live here. Like, this is their life every day, but they're serving you. And so it's the coolest thing I've seen in a while, to your point, TJ, about how we get to see characters not just living their daily lives, no matter how destructive or not. We get to see these characters that there's like multiple sides to them. We never see them at home, but we know so much about their home because we see them on vacation. And I just, you don't see that. That's so cool. When you see that in movies, but movies always start with the people at home taking the plane to the thing. By the time, White Lotus starts, they're on a boat and they're already on the way. You don't know where they came from. You hear that through dialogue. And that's what I want to talk about next is the dialogue in season 3. Teach, how did you feel about it? Because I feel like we did a lot with dialogue this season, and I don't know how I feel about it yet. Some of the dialogue hit so damn hard, right? I mean, we've got the scene with Walton Goggins and his friend. Please, I feel terrible forgetting the actor's name. He's wonderful.
Frank.
Um,
The character's name is Frank.
the character's name is Frank. I forget the actor's name. That scene, profound, stunned. I really would rather have not have watched that. I felt so much secondhand embarrassment. I was like, oh gosh. Lori's wonderful monologue at the end, and then like they're responding. A lot of the dialogue was fun and exciting, but I wonder, to your point, TJ, if there was like a timing thing, like what makes the show so cool is that it's beautiful. Like, we get to see the action and see what happens, and some of the dialogue is great. Like, the mom was great. How did y'all feel about the dialogue this season versus other seasons, or just independently?
I think it was just as strong as it was in past seasons. That wasn't where my issue or any of my issues were. Also, Parker Posey, everything that she said during this season was
Obsessed.
not only great dialogue, but also like great voice work. Like she was just pretty perfect. But I think in terms of the dialogue, I didn't feel like there was a difference in terms of the quality of the dialogue between the other two seasons. It was more of the plot stuff of how we set stuff up, how we get this person in the room with that person. Those were kind of my quibbles that I had with it, but it's not really the dialogue. I think Mike White is really strong at dialogue, and I think it really shows. And I think this season is more evidence of that.
JK, what about you with the dialogue?
I feel the same way, and I love that there was some controversy with Parker Posey's accent, and some people had to come out and say that she is from that area where her character is supposed to be based, so she actually knows what she's doing when
Mm-hmm.
she puts on the accent for her role. So I enjoyed that a lot, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel the same way about the dialogue, and I also had issues with the plots and how things were resolved.
Interesting.
And then I wanted to add something real quick about what you were saying about how the characters interact with the employees that live there and stuff like that.
Yes. Yes.
So one the thing that I think about too, and what I read up about, is the
Mm-hmm.
locations that the show chooses.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a wealth of information for the second season with where in Italy they chose, and
Right.
how historically it served as a getaway for those who were wealthy, who were in the gay community, that would go there and they would seek out the sex workers there
Yep.
that they could not get back home where they were. And there's a whole lot of history, but it ties into why they had the plot that they did
Uh-huh.
with the girls. So it's really, really interesting that they had all that wealth of history that they put into the show,
That's a
and kind of
great
teases
point.
you to learn more about it.
100%. And I love a show like that. JK, thank you so much for bringing that up. I'd be remiss if we didn't dive into that, right? Like, it's not just, oh my gosh, so beautiful, like I was saying, the resorts, but it makes you learn about different cultures, right? And how rich white people engage with these different cultures, right? It shows so much of a dynamic of class and culture. And so you, like, inadvertently, or if by choice, if you're very intentional about it, like you and I, JK, you go and look things up, right? What is the pong pong tree, right? Is there really a suicide fruit? Oh, okay, there is. Okay. And so, similar to Abbott Elementary, where there's so much research on public education, being a teacher, challenges, with, quote unquote, inner city schools, hate that term, but right, quote unquote, right? White Lotus does the same, where it's like, it's clear that there's a wealth of knowledge, there's some research done for, like, when you go to a resort, when you go to a different country, how well are you immersing yourself with it? And I think that's a perfect segue to kind of, I don't know that I disliked the plot and resolution as much as other people did for this show. I was super into it. I thought they did a great job. I loved every single sector. I loved, Tej, you said like your gripe was how everybody interacted and came to be. I thought it was brilliant. I loved, that we're going on a boat and we're seeing the like true deep inner workings of a Saxon, right? Versus a Chelsea, versus a Chloe, versus a Gary. Like, I thought they did great. To me, maybe bar for bar, the quotes or the dialogue was okay. And, like I said, I don't think it was bad. But I think the lowest of lows was in this season. And the reason why I think that is because a lot of it was very on the nose this season. Season 1 and 2, and maybe there's just like a comfortability that came in season 3, right? But season 1 and 2, you never really knew what was happening through the dialogue. You knew it because you understand interpretation, you understand the class, you understand like what's happening underneath all of the conversation. Whereas this season, I feel like there were a lot of moments where I was like, this is really on the nose about what may happen and how this character is motivated, right, as a writer. And I'm just like, we didn't have to say that. Like, let us be on this journey a little bit, discovering this person on vacation while they're also discovering themselves. I think they did a good job with the daughter, right? I saw some people like, oh, it didn't make sense that the daughter ended up being spoiled. And I was like, maybe you've never like met a rich daughter before, like that inherited money or that's never like spent anything. They think in their head that like they understand their privilege conceptually, but like they don't want to get rid of it. And so it was just so cool. Like, that was cool. A lot of the dialogue that she said did not lead her to that. But a lot of the stuff between like Chelsea and Rick, while it was great, it was fun, it was very on the nose to me. While a lot of what the dad did with his Duke shirt, there's just so much stuff that it was just like it wasn't enough. Like, we could have let the actors shine a little bit more with their like physical acting and stuff like that. I just felt like some of the dialogue between Belinda and Pornchide too, I was like, oh, we're like gonna say it out loud. Let there be like a little bit of, mystery behind it, because this is a mystery, right? We're going to try to find out who's dead. And so that was my issue with the dialogue. Like, bar for bar, it's not rated lower. But I mean, like, if we're taking like the worst like sets of dialogue from each, I think season 3 definitely had like, I'm like, I could have done without that. We could have just had a moment. Sydney Sweeney was cooking in the last one. She would just kind of make faces and, respond, or we would watch a character do a thing. Like, I mean, I feel like Lori was such an amazing character, and she got to really shine by not saying much. But then the other ones like had so much to say in certain cases where it's like a cool little bit of silence would have been nice here, or a little bit of like more tension just to sit in it quietly would have been cool here. So that wasn't like necessarily a knock in the way that it took me, like it rated it lower. That wasn't necessarily what I'm saying with that. But there was just some moments where I was like, oh, well, we're gonna, do the suicide tree. This is a suicide tree fruit. Here you go, Dad. And it was like, we get it. Like, we didn't, we get it. We know you're gonna use this later. and it just felt like that was not necessary, you know. Um, but let's talk a little bit too about the finale because resolution, resolve. JK used that term earlier. What why did we have some gripes about the resolution, right? Have we thought about it? Like I've seen some stuff.
I had some gripes.
What was the gripes? I want to hear the gripes. My gripe guys. What's going on? What did y'all like about the resolution? Was it up to the resolution? It
This
seemed like the finale itself kind of got y'all like, mm-mm.
I got some beef with it.
this kind of goes. I got some beef with you. I'll let JK
Go
go
ahead,
first.
JK.
Oh, thanks. So I like Saxon's resolution.
Okay.
I
Good.
I feel convinced that he has grown in some way as a person, and he has some sort of substance, a
Mm.
la his, I guess you could say, friendship with Chelsea, and the you know what scene that happened with his brother that just like shook him to
Ugh.
his core. But I'm convinced with that. I'm not convinced with Rick whole trauma that he had, and him coming to Thailand, and him
Mm.
ending up killing his father and having like a Star Wars kind of theme.
Did it
I
feel
just
cheap
feel
to you?
it felt cheap, especially when Sarita says
Yeah.
to him, "Oh, this is your father. He told me," and he's like, "Okay, so
I'm
he
into
told you that 5 minutes ago before you guys got to the resort. Like, what happened? You know,
I'm
it
into
was
that
just
criticism. I'm into it. Yeah.
yeah, like it was just
Mm.
too fast, and then he just like blew a fuse and killed him. It's just there's just too much going on there, and
Mm.
it was too much. And then Chelsea dies in the shootout, which in a way I can kind of get that it could happen in a real life situation, but it was just too much. I really had a problem with that.
It was
And
too
then
much going on.
I had a issue. I'm gonna say this real quick too. I had an
No.
issue with the girls. I feel like oh my god, I forgot what her name is. She's
Lori, Kate, and what's the other one? Child?
Lori Kate and
Jacqueline.
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 The famous one. Hmm.
Jacqueline, yes. I feel like Jacqueline's character doing an about face after being kind of stubborn and weird didn't really make much sense.
Mm.
Because I feel
Okay.
like somebody who has always been that way, and they make a point of letting you know that with the dialogue, that she's always been that way, to just do like an about face to be like, oh, I'm sorry about what I did with him, with Valentine, and I want to be your friend. Didn't I wasn't really buying it.
I'm
And
into
then
that.
Lord,
Okay.
yeah,
You
yeah,
just like
I
okay.
got too much. I don't want to hog the microphone. I got too much,
No,
man.
no, no. I'm watching. T, chime in. Is anything parallel aligned here? Is you have a completely separate kind of.
So I had the same thoughts about the Rick thing, and I know that a lot of shows and other seasons of White Lotus as well like have disagreements that are based on the lack of communication. Like a lot of human disagreements are based on lack of communication. But everybody could see that that was his dad. And so to have him have two interactions with this man where he's literally talking about his mother in both those interactions, and nobody, like the dad literally disses himself by saying, like, your dad was a piece of shit. Like, trust me, I would know. And not just saying like the next three words that could have changed the whole outcome. I just think lynching that, like putting such a big event and it's basically based on the fact that the dad doesn't say four more words is pretty annoying. I also don't love the stuff with the blender where so not I have two gripes with the blender thing. One, well, three. One, I bet I agree with you in the scene with the suicide thing that we don't have to call it a suicide tree. I think we all understand what poison is and how it could be used. Two, I could tell that he was gonna leave some in the blender and Lochte was gonna get it as soon as they showed in the background that the blender was still there and there was still residue in there. But then they put that shot of the blender with the residue in there in the foreground. Like you didn't have to show us it in the foreground because we could all see it in the background. And then three, the dad has been contemplating killing his family. He goes out of his way to make sure Lochte doesn't drink it. He knows that Lochte's interested in drinking some of this drink because it's a pina colada and he wants to try one. And he doesn't. take the extra 10 seconds to rinse out the blender. Like I understand why Lofty would not rinse out the blender because he wants some pina colada, but it literally makes no sense that the dad wouldn't if he cares to try to save the life of now all of his family, and you go far enough to slapping a drink out of someone's hands that you wouldn't take the extra 10 seconds to rinse out the blender. That doesn't make sense to me. That is a nonsensical. It does not fit with the character. Doesn't fit with the story to me. So stuff like that. It's like I also didn't like. I like the scene where Zion and Belinda are on the boat and Zion's negotiating. It's a funny scene, but Belinda putting herself in situations where she's in the room with Greg after finding out what Greg did makes
Makes
no
no
sense to
sense.
me. You're gonna go on his boat when you know that his ex-wife died on a boat, and now you're gonna go on his boat, and Zion is like, "Oh, I'll protect you." Like that's not enough to make a decision, especially as a black woman, to go get on that boat. That to me, that's like she's going to make a dumb decision to drive the plot, but it actually doesn't make sense for what we know about the character. Stuff like that. I had issues with
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Belinda and Porn Chai's dialogue. I saw someone was like, they had like an issue with people, right? Like I've titled it "Look at what that money make a bitch do," which is so funny to me. It highlighted for me the Belinda and Porn Chai, and I wanna kind of talk about this. So I saw a few people being like, "Why would this black woman owe Porn Chai anything?" Blah 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 blah. All she did was show up for a little bit, have sex, and they had one little conversation. Why would y'all think? And I respected that kind of perspective, but I was like, let's slow down, right? A couple of things with Belinda and Porn Chai. Love that Belinda came back. No, from like a perspective of Natasha Rothwell, she's gonna get her bag. I knew she was gonna live just because I know what kind of actress she wants to be and how she goes into these deals and stuff from the time that she was Bitten and Secure. So I knew that that was going to be the case, and I like that there was a reason why she was brought into this season, right? It's kind of a thing, and I love that Mike White and team are committed to that. But the Belinda Porn Chai thing, and I want y'all's perspective. To me, again, I pride the dialogue that we didn't have. I like when we don't have the dialogue. We can use the camera, we can use the skill of the actors and their eyes and their actions to like tell a little bit more of like what their motivations are and what's going to happen next. And to me, in my head, there was a parallel from season 2 to season 3, and the parallel with season 2, the white woman was Jennifer Coolidge's character was so terrible for saying that she was going to help build this business. Nothing in writing, nothing happened. There was no real thing. She was just like, I would love to help you. I'll send you some money. And then she just did it. And everyone was like, oh my God, she's the worst person in the world. Okay. Right. They're like, oh my God, Belinda, Belinda, Belinda. Wow. So to me, I think it was understood, right? We're spending a week here. We anticipate that we're spending a week. You get into it. You clearly like Porn Chai. Porn Chai, is testing the waters. He feeling you too, girl. No, Belinda doesn't owe him anything, but I don't think that's the barometer for, kind of communicating effectively with a person. And it's interesting, right? Sure, men do it to women all the time, sure, but like it doesn't make it okay, right? I assumed that based on the fact that Belinda came back to say things have changed, that there was a conversation that she felt to acknowledge that versus this conversation to now, things have changed. Why would she say that if there was no dialogue around a plan or an agreement or a hey, I would love to do this thing with you? I feel like just an outside from a societal perspective, I'm zooming out a little bit. What do people's words even mean now? In 1 second, you get told you're stupid for believing a person and what they say. And it's like, what the fuck else am I supposed to do with interacting with a human? We have specific senses that we interact with people, and a lot of it is talking. It's communication. Tej, what did you say earlier? A lot of arguments come from a lack of communication. If you're lying to a person, how is that person like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't have a lot of actions to go by. You're not treating me terribly. Why should I just assume you're lying, right? And so I insert that kind of thought process into Belinda and Porn Chai. Did Belinda think that Jennifer Coolidge was just playing in her face? Why would she have believed that it was a lie? They had a conversation. She wasn't terrible. She has money out the ass. Why would Belinda not expect that? Which is why we were all gung-ho. So around Porn Chai, the same kind of idea. We had sex, right? We communicated physically, we communicated sexually. You saved me from a lizard type thing. You were there for me during my fear, you know, and you've been there kind of through my training for this new thing. Before I go back to Hawaii. No, we're not saying they should be married, but yeah, if we start to talk about some business stuff together, yeah, I want to know like what that looks like. You can't just dip. And it doesn't matter that Portia doesn't know why she dips, but we know why she dipped. And you dipped because you was gonna be cool. Why don't you explain to Porn Shy like, hey, But she can't, right? She can't because she knows how she got that blood money, that dirty money. Teach, talk to me. It sounds like you like were hearing me talking. You immediately like, yeah, let me tap in.
So two things. I had my issues with the Belinda plot, but I think that two things I really liked about the way that it worked out with Porn Chai was A, we're doubling down on the theme of how the people who come into these places, these resorts,
Yes,
might treat the people who work
yes,
there as disposable. That's the
that's the
same
same
thing
thing.
that Jennifer Coolidge did to Belinda. So
Yeah,
we flipped that.
you have to
But
call it
also
out.
B,
I think.
but also B, we're also showing the power of money to corrupt people. Belinda is somebody we view as a good character, and we've seen her go through the journey where this happens to her. She gets money by illicit means, nonetheless. Well, I mean, a lot of people get their money by illicit means, but she gets her money through illicit means.
Come on,
Now all of
preach.
a sudden, she's treating Porn Chai as disposable, and it's got that he's showing that the power of money to corrupt. Like even somebody y'all thought was a good person, the second she get that money, she said something has
I'm sorry.
changed. What changed is that she got the
What's the
money. That's the only
title?
thing
What's
that
the title of
changed.
this space? Look at
Exactly.
what that money
Exactly.
make a
So I
bitch
like how he did
do.
that.
That's the theme of this entire show. Look at what losing money make a bitch do. You almost wanted to kill your family. Thank you, Teach, for saying that. And so that's how I felt. And I want to hang on to a thing. JK, talk to me too about this. I want to hang on to what you just said, Teach. You said we think Belinda's a good person. Why? Why did we decide as viewers that Belinda's a good person?
Well, I wanted to get into the reason why I thought that poor Chai would have believed what she was, that she wanted to go into business with him, was that she came into the resort as a worker just like him.
Mm,
So I know he felt the class solidarity, like, okay, this is somebody just like me, and we do the same kind of work because she works in the spa in Hawaii. So she understands what he goes through on a deeper level than the other employees. And she was learning from him. That was the whole point of her being on the trip, was that she was learning how they run their spa there so that she could take that back to her location. So they
exactly,
bonded
JK.
in that way, and anybody would have thought, okay, like if we're bonding in this way, I can trust this person. So
Yes.
when she was like, oh, yeah, so I'm not gonna do that because things change, I interpreted it as, okay, she's not necessarily talking about the money part, but that because
Mm,
poor Chad doesn't know about that, but he
right.
did know about Gary, and he did know that she was terrified of him, and she told him that things changed, and he was like, oh, we wanted to do this business, you would stay in Thailand, but things change, and I can't stay here. So I feel like he may have interpreted as, okay, she changed her mind because something happened with Gary, and she doesn't feel safe to stay here and finish
I'm
up
into
the
that.
training that she had, and like potentially open up a business here with him in Thailand. I don't think he
I really like that perspective. So
Yeah.
you're not even mad at Belinda, really. You're like, this is a safety issue, bro. I gotta go.
Well, I mean, I am, no, 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 don't get me wrong. I am mad that she corrupted herself,
Uh huh.
but I'm just thinking from his perspective, he doesn't know about the money. But
Exactly. That's what I'm
actually,
saying.
you know
Right.
what? No. He may have found out about something when they were leaving, and she and her son, they made a point of showing them leaving in the boat by themselves,
Yep.
like a rich people kind of departure, because everybody else gone on the communal boat, and they're the ones that left in their own boat. So I think he kind of gonna put two and two together.
I think, one of my gripes about it, and I would have to go back, and y'all remind me if you guys remember how every other resort scene ended in the finale. it was a little unnerving to me that no one left from a mass shooting kind of rattled on the boat. Half of me is like, I guess that makes sense. Let me get the fuck out of here. I'm happy to get out of here. But the other half of me is like, if my vacation ends in a mass shooting, I'm not gonna be smiling. I'm gonna be like, I would have rather had like scenes in the boat where everyone's with their head down, like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so happy you're okay. Oh God, what the fuck just fucking happened? Like I would have loved like an end, like get me out of here type shit. But everyone was just like, the ocean is so nice. People did die. Like the group of women, like I feel like they kind of showed a little bit of it, but the women were right there. Like that has to be traumatizing. It's not in your daily life. This is not, what is it called, Dope Thief, where like they've seen people get shot before. They created this world and an assumption around the fact that these people are cooking and these people are in Thailand because of the way that they live. You go to this resort and it ends in a mass shooting. I don't think the boat ride is that, you know, LeBron James smiling through it all. I can't believe this is my life. Am I the only person? Gee, it shocked me.
I agree, and I also felt like if we're gonna go through the trouble of establishing that Saxon had this connection to Chelsea, and that Chelsea's and enlightenment quite literally changed his life or changed his trajectory in terms of his own personal development, then he just is like on the boat with the family and doesn't seem to give a shit that Chelsea's dead, or like does he even know that Chelsea's dead? You would imagine he does. Like it just made no sense that now we're just putting people who survived on the boat and they're just going back to whatever their real life is. I thought that
I
was
thought
weird.
that was sweet too. That was like my main gripe with the resolution, was just like, okay, no one's devastated. I mean, it was funny when, to see Belinda and the dude. Let's talk about the negotiation scene. Hilarious. Hilarious negotiation scene. Also, I wasn't buying it. Is that fair? Like, can I say both things? JK, I'm really interested. Like, baby boy coming up, being very handsome, being very enthusiastic, made sense. But like, I'll tell you when I got out. When mom left, it made so much sense. But then she all of a sudden has this bright idea to get the money, and they're talking in his house. Tej, I know you were with me on this. I was like, "Wah." It was that, and then it was Lachlan coming back to life.
Hated that.
Thematically, right, like, and we do this, Deej, right? We try to like make a show better. And like when you were having an issue with the dad, I was in my head like, well, we've said lorazepam no less than 75 times in this season. Let's just charge it to the drugs that you're making these kind of silly mistakes. But you made too strong of a point, and like, but like in the moment, he's slapping things out of hands. He's reacting. He's having this like response. He is brilliant. He's hiding the gun in like a little thing. Uh, I'm like, maybe we just charge it to the drugs. You're on lorazepam, you're sleepy, you're overstimulated, you just forget to clear out the blender. I wanted to give them that, but then it's like the Lachlan thing, and he saves him, and then it's the Belinda negotiation scene that just felt like unnecessary. I just feel like I'm just volleying off of what you guys are saying, in a sense that, like, Tej, you kind of talk about time. I could be almost very specific about which scenes we didn't need. I can tell you which 10 minutes we need to take out of each episode, right? Like, we didn't need that. That didn't make any sense. I don't that doesn't follow the character, right? While we're like having this like two-faced part of the characters where we're acknowledging who they are on vacation and what they're trying to overcome that's not on vacation with them. Walton Goggins' great storyline. JK, what do you think? Am I off base here? Was it not? How did you feel about the negotiation scene? It kind of happened too fast for me. Also, $5 million doesn't get cleared in bank accounts that fast. I'm sorry. Come on now.
All right, let's pretend for a second that we don't all work at Chase, right? And we're not thinking about how it could not get processed that fast, because I agree with you. They would flag that right away and be like, okay,
Immediately.
you are doing some money laundering because you do not get this kind of money in your bank account normally. So where is this coming from? It's going to take us 2 weeks to clear this, okay? We need to talk to some
2
people,
weeks minimum.
make sure that this money is legit, because you had $12,000 in your bank account yesterday. No, this doesn't make no sense.
Thank you, JK. But yeah, we'll suspend disbelief there.
Yes. The negotiating scene, like you guys were saying, I had an issue with that too, because I felt like Gary would have been really thrown off, and he did seem like that in the scene already. Kind of thrown off and annoyed that her son was there and trying to talk for her. And it just, I don't see him really being like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna just wire $5 million to your bank account," when
It
originally
makes no
I
sense.
offered you 100,000 to
It makes
keep
no sense.
quiet.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
it
not buying
would,
it.
yeah, it would have made more sense if she was giving the compelling case herself in the meeting with him than her and her son trying to do that.
I'm into that. Like, and Teej, you can go next. I'm into it, JK. I'm like, if I'm making that scene, I like that she has a son because it shows how, you know, your enthusiastic, excited son that feels like, hey, you got to do this. Like anybody tells you they're got to get 5 million to hush money. Tej was like, man, we would be out of there, mom. I'm like, whoa, 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 don't assume I would take the hush money. Hold on, like, you taking the hush money? So I enjoyed that aspect of it. But to me, I'm writing the scene where Belinda puts her foot down with her son. Absolutely not. We're not doing that. She's been too cautious this entire time. Why is she all of a sudden so gung ho? I'm not buying it. She's too cautious. She goes to talk to Gary. She's like, look, Gary, I'm going to need, and then we have a little bit of a longer negotiation between her and Gary. The son is there being so enthusiastic, and he gets kicked out. He gets thrown out. He gets like shut down. Like, you're doing too much. My apologies, Gary. I do want to be protected by my son. He was always going to come visit me here at the resort. This is my family, and whatever money I do get, well, whatever. Like, that's how I would have written it, where Mr. Enthusiastic getting jokes off is actually ruining the vibe, and Belinda's just doing her best to get between 1 million and 5 million, right? Like, that's how I do the scene. That makes more sense to me, rather than, oh, she's all of a sudden the mastermind, when it took her an episode and a half to be like, no, baby boy, we're not doing this. Tej, what do you think? The negotiation scene.
Well, I mean, as a lawyer, I'm just gonna say, if you're having a negotiation and you want to have a sidebar with whoever your advisor is, this being her son,
You
don't
don't do
do
it in
that
my,
in this man's
no,
house where I'm sure has cameras, because it's a big ass
crazy.
fucking house. I'm sure he has cameras there. And also, just don't go to the house of someone who you think is a killer,
Killer?
and when you're trying to negotiate hush money, because if the negotiations go south, you're quite literally like captive in his house. That
Exactly.
makes no sense. I have some notes.
There's so many notes. Like, it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. The character motivations. I mean, I really was like, I enjoyed the moment with the son getting his bars off, talking about where he went to school, like looking stupid, putting his foot in his mouth. I did. But Belinda's not going to this man's house, bro. After 3 episodes of being terrified of even walking by him, she's gonna go into his house. Please be for real. She barely want, like, even from Jump Teach, I think you called this out too. Her going to a place alone with him. She's not doing that. She's not doing that. Even that she's not doing. Much less go to his house. Much less bring her son, who's absolutely like, you know, driving her insane. And then like they come back and she's the mastermind. Not buying it. But to end the space, talk to me about the mess, because there is a lot of mess around this show. Has anyone else kind of seen the mess around Mike White and his sound design and his sound editor, his composer, and what I think is cool from an industry perspective, and this is what we watch, so we talk about industry quite a bit and how the art meshes with it. Everyone got equal pay, so that was really cool, right? Everyone got the same amount of pay, literally, and that was really cool to find out. And I think that probably, again, to that star making thing that Tej was talking about, it spoke a little bit more to how everyone chose to perform, because there's no hierarchy here. So I'm gonna go in. Everybody on the same pay grade, just kind of going in at the best that they can. Parker Posey doing what she did, beautiful. But, there's a lot of mess around kind of the direction of the show and the themes of the show and how we present it. Is it sexy hotel resort, or is it eerie mystery killing and underpinnings of like, class and race and things like that? And so it's just interesting how production can be affected by these things when you're trying to immerse yourself and a piece of art. JK, did you hear any of the mess around why, this might be the last season upcoming and what we're doing with it and, what that is? Have you heard about that, JK?
I heard all the tea. I heard from the theme song controversy. I heard there was drama on and off. Apparently, Jason Isaacs, the actor who played the dad,
Yeah,
Papa Radcliffe, couldn't stop talking about the drama that was going on.
yeah.
And between Walton and Amy Lou, who played Chelsea, that they may have been a thing there. I don't know. It just sounds very very messy, but apparently all that mess helped fuel the
Performances.
portrayal of the storyline. So I'm with it. I'm all with that.
Look, these actors be going through it. Shout out to all of the actors on this show. Once again, like season 1, 2, and 3, there's literally no notes for the performances and how each character was portrayed. But I just found it interesting how people felt about this season. I thoroughly enjoyed the season. I enjoyed every single moment. The three white women, chef's kiss. I personally was completely shocked by the resolution of that thing. But I couldn't make it a gripe because I really loved Lori's monologue at the end. Like she was spitting. That was like very vulnerable. And I'm into that because you don't get a lot of vulnerability, right? The White Lotus shows you that like this is what happens when you're not vulnerable. Right? And then kind of like in the last episode you get like, oh, they might be vulnerable when they go back home, but who really knows, right? And so I like that. But we got actually to see Lori do her monologue and be vulnerable and see that kind of resolution, which was cool. So, I mean, I just love talking TV with everyone. Thank you so much. Next week, we're talking about The Pit. So, happy What We Watch Wednesday. My recommendation for this week, if you are not caught up, I need you to tap in this weekend immediately. We are about to go through the last episode of The Pit, and I can't wait to talk about it as a whole. I joined it probably, I want to say 5 weeks late, so 5 weeks in. When I tell you I'm there every week for the episode, okay? I'm there every week. We're on episode 15, which is I think is the finale. I'm going to watch it right now when we get off of here. But I really recommend watching The Pit. Noah Weil, our ER king, all right, is back. He's given us more. You want to talk about star-making shows? This show, I don't know quite a few of those actors, and I know I've probably seen them everywhere. I've seen so many actors. I've watched so much film and TV, but they are cooking as doctors, as students, as residents, as whatever it is that's in the ER. Just everyone is doing such a fantastic job, and it's just an emergency room drama, and I'm just glad that we're restoring the feeling because I thought we were never going to get anything like House again. I love a doctor show. I love a nip tuck, an ER, a house. I love it. Grey's Anatomy, I love the first 75% of it. Shout out to Grey's Anatomy for its incredibly long run. Like what a legendary run. But I'm just so glad that we get this medical drama back on television, back on HBO Max, where it cooks. And that has been our What We Watch Wednesday recommendation. Thank you so much for talking White Lotus season 3 with me. We'll be back when season 4 comes. See us next week for The Pit. Ciao.